All right, so today we're going to continue on with the tools. You know, we talked about how your kids change and you need a different set of tools to better parent them and not frustrate them. And the Bible talks about don't exacerbate your kids, and the way you do that is you're using outdated tools for parenting on kids that are now older. And the tools we're using tonight, you'll see some of these can already be used with early to mid-adolescents because some adolescents mature a little earlier. So these are kind of on a continuum, but they can all be used. So in total, in the past, last week and this week, you'll have about 12 different ways of parenting that's different, and I think much more effective. So here's the first one. We're going to talk about the first thing. We're going to move from being a director to an advisor. Now, you remember I talked about not creating a cause for your team. Is that right? Remember that? Because they love a cause. Tell me what you don't want me to do, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. Because, and here's the reason why. Kids, all your kids want two very important things. And some of you may go, really? They want that? They do want this. And here's the thing. You guys, I inadvertently, have to make them choose between one of them. They want both. But we make them choose for only one. And you'll see what I'm talking about. The kids want autonomy, which means I want to be my own person. Why is being your own person important for them to develop into? Why is that important?
I'm not going to be around all their lives.
You're not going to be around all their lives.
So they can grow their personality.
Yeah, so they can develop their own personality. Because they're going to have to be their own person when they get out into the world. You're not going to be with them all the time. They need to do that. They get it. Remember, they're looking over their shoulder going, oh my gosh, there's a big world out there. I better get ready for that. The other thing they want to do is they want to do the right thing. Kids really do want to do the right thing. They want to find out what the right thing is. Okay? So, what are the 5 things? What are 5 things that we parents tell our kids to make sure they do or don't do? What are some big things that we don't want them to do or we want them to do? Don't do drugs. What else? Go to college. What else? Do your chores. What else? No sex. What else? Go to school. Follow the work.
Show your parents respect.
Show your parents respect. Now, let me ask you this. What are kids doing?
All those things.
Yeah. So what's up? What's going on? Why? I mean, the things that we tell them not to do and do, they're doing. Why is that? I'm going to show you why that is. It's because we set them up to choose. If you tell them all the right things to do, and they do it, which one of these are they accomplishing? Doing the right thing. What are they giving up? Why? Why are they giving up autonomy? Yeah, they're doing what you told them to do. So if they have to choose doing the right thing or autonomy, which do you think they're going to choose? Autonomy, right? Most of them will do autonomy. Now, you think that the person who chooses doing the right thing is better. It might be more scary.
Are you saying they don't coexist?
I'm saying they want them to coexist, but how we engage our kids forces them to choose one or the other. Because if I tell you to do all the right things and you do it, well, then you're doing what I told you. And if you're doing what I told you, you're not being very autonomous. You're not being your own person. You're being the person I'm telling you to be. So that creates a dilemma. It's more subconscious, more subliminal, but it's there, big time. You just illustrate it to me. All the things we want them to do, they're not doing. All the things we don't want them to do, they are doing. What's going on? Well, this is what's going on. They're being forced to choose between the two. What do we want them to do? We want them not to have a choice. We want them to be able to do both. So how do you do that? Well, you do that by you have to stop being a director and you have to become an advisor. What does that look like? I mean, imagine this. Let's say I'm an amazing business consultant, and I go up to some company, and I'm a multimillionaire, and I'm world-renowned, et cetera, et cetera. And I come to your company, and I knock on your door, and somebody said that a friend of mine says they really like you, and I should do a favor for you. So I show up at your business, knock on the door, and say, this is your lucky day. I'm here to consult you. I'm here to tell you how to run your business well. And if I can get to you, that's one thing. I probably won't even get to you. I'll get to your secretary. And she says, now, who are you? And what are you doing here? Do you have an appointment? And what's this about? No, you have to trust her. I'm going to tell you all the right things you need to do in your business. What are you going to do with me? You're going to call security. Get out of here. What are you doing? Yeah, you're making a mistake. I'm amazing. And I'm free. Come on, take advantage. Get out of here. Does it sound familiar? Uh-huh. I'm a psychologist. At my house, I'm amazing. People pay me money for this. Do they listen to me? Right? They don't listen to me. So you need to. So what is an advisor's job?
They come to you.
Because you ask them, right?
They come to ask you.
They come to ask you. And when I tell them, it's up to them to make the choice, right? I'm just saying, hey, you're your own person. You know what's going on, and you need to make your own choice. Remember my drop and run experience with Jordan, who was thinking about eloping? If I was a director, what I would have said, are you out of your mind? How old are you? And this is crazy. I taught you better than this. I mean, I would be all over him as a director. I'm not in my house. But do you remember how I responded? I said, well, Jordan, you're almost 18. And I was very much working to stay in the advisor role so he would be autonomous and make the right decision. But if I gave him the choice, either do it my way or the highway, he's going to choose for his autonomy. He's going to say, watch me elope. Just watch. I didn't want to do that. So I had to back it off from the director. And here's the thing. Being a director is a great thing when they're little. It's a necessary thing. Okay? But it evolves over time. And what we don't want to do is have like a light switch. We've been director, and boom, they're on their own. You want to have a gradual approach. And you've kind of already been doing this. But now you're hitting a major shift in their development where you need to do it more, a lot more. You need to move from being a director to being an advisor. So it's the difference between autonomy and doing right. And we want them to do both, yes.
What ages are you speaking?
It can start as early as 13, or usually around 15, 16, definitely by 16.
Would you suggest identifying for them that they're going into a transition?
Yes, but in a way to say, listen, you're getting older and you're getting smarter and you're going to be making a lot more of your own decisions, and we trust you to make those decisions. You're a sharp kid. So you're doing it in a very positive, affirming way, but you're also laying the message out that, hey, we're passing on the baton. If you see the background of that's what this is all about. It's passing the baton of adulthood to them. And with each one of these, I will stop and take questions. So then we go to the next one. So feel free to ask some questions here. Normally we wait to the end. Does that make sense? Director versus doing the right thing. They don't want to have to choose, but the moment you start telling them all the right things to do, it's like, what about going to college? Hey, listen, why don't you do some research? I'll assist you. What you coming up with? And then they may come up with ones that are more really expensive or not the best kind. You got to watch how you react to that. You want to say, well, why don't you find out the cost on all of these and see what we got, see what it's going to cost. So you'll be surprised how smart your kids are, and they'll start to make up their own decision with just a little bit of guidance, not direction, but guidance, advising. And you'll improve their self-esteem. They'll feel your confidence in them. I mean, it's a great way to go. The alternative is just to be so afraid, and then it's like, well, if you do it on your own, you're going to get in trouble. So you got to listen to me. That communicates a whole different message. You don't trust me, maybe, and they might believe you. It's like, wow, okay, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. And watch the child who chooses doing the right thing. Can you see problems there? They're not good. They're going to give up their autonomy. Because I just want to please you. I mean, you want to go to college, or you want to go? I mean, what do you want to do? And can you imagine me getting into adulthood and then trying to figure out how to run my life? And well, what do you think? I mean, I'm a sitting duck because I'm waiting for somebody else to tell me what to do. And that's in my book is almost worse. I'd rather have a little bit of a little sword fighting, if you will. In many ways, an image comes to my mind with sons, and particularly in dads. it's like a son at 13 or 14 years old finds a sword and goes, wow, it's under my bed. And he says, Dad, and he starts going after his dad. Come on, let's show me how to work this thing. And Dad's going like, oh, well, let me get my sword out. And next you know, they're sword fighting. And it looks like a battle to the death. But it's really teaching your son how to sword fight, how to be a man, how to be autonomous. Does that make sense? So the resistance you get is a necessary resistance. And so rather than hitting it head on, you become more of a consultant. Does that make sense?
It's difficult in that relationship with the father and the son. It's difficult to not push back really hard.
Mm-hmm.
It is for me.
Yeah. Well, come here, let me just illustrate something here. Come here. You went and opened your mouth.
I think I'm just going
So check this out. Make a fist. Now, let me ask you something. Why are you pushing? Okay. Reflex.
Yeah.
Kids will come up and they'll make you just go right at it, right? And now you can say, hey, you don't push me, so you start pushing harder. Right? Push harder. And how long are we going to do this? Now, what's another way to control me? Let go. Now, who's out of balance? Who's in control? And you won that game by giving in, giving up, by just moving aside as opposed to hitting it head on. Because they love a fight. Give me a cause, come on. See, thank you for helping out. So, overpowering is a strategy that works when they're little, but when they're older, it can work against you. Yes?
Is an example like when you're in high school and you want to go to a party,
Mm-hmm.
and you're supposed to watch who your friends are.
Yes.
But you're not going to say, I think what you're saying is you're not going to say, you are not going to that party because then they might sneak out and go.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to say, I want you to do the right thing, or is that not giving them the right idea?
Well, remember one of the things is that, well, let's talk about that. So you're not doing resistance. No, you're not. And who are these people? And it's like, oh, here they come. The director comes. It's like, well, tell me about the party. Who's going to be there? What's you got going? Well, I don't want to tell you stuff. Well, in order for me to help you to go, you're going to have to work with me. You don't have to work with me. But then I can't give you a yes. I'd love to give you a yes, but you got to work with me. So I'm not saying no, I'm not fighting you, but I'm drawing you out to find out what's the deal. And if you're not giving out the details, then there may be a reason why you shouldn't go.
What if they give them details and you don't like the details?
Then what I would say is, listen, you know what? I see where you want to go, but it's in my estimation at your age right now that right now I'm not sure that's the best thing for you. Down the road, we can talk about it again, but right now I'm not open to it. Or let's look at this. And then the other way is, well, how could he go where you could be comfortable? I don't know. But it's like there hasn't been enough conversation to even answer that. And most of us don't make much conversation. We just say no. And so we never get to that place. But if they see you willing to talk about it, well, help me understand. Well, let me tell you why this is hard for me to give you a yes. It's this and this and this and this. Well, then let them work. It's like, make me want to. Work with me. But that's all part of treating them more like an adult. Because with an adult, that's what you do. With a kid, you say, you're not going. So no, don't get inside. Yes?
Well, isn't that part of that other strategy where you're saying, if you said yes to enough things, that
Yes.
makes it this important one?
Absolutely. And again, I always land on to, well, why? Because I'm not happy about the people that are going to be there. And your dad, I get crazy about the friends that you hang out with. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit whacked that way. But they also know I'm pretty yes on a lot of things. So then they kind of just, pat me in the head and say, all right, gotta live with you. Yeah, but very good point. Yeah. If you say no to everything, then all you got is fight all the time. Yes, and then yes.
I was saying no to a party like that once, and ended up saying yes. It was a sleepover, and then my daughter informed me that there were boys also invited to the party. So I said, well, are they going to stay for the sleepover? And she said, I think so.
And how old is your daughter?
Well,
Yeah, that would have been a no.
so I said,
Slam dunk no, right?
and then I decided, well, let me talk to parents of the birthday person. So, and I had my husband talk to the father. I wrote all the questions I wanted to know. The top was, who's staying for the
That's right.
sleepover? And the father confirmed, it's just the girls.
Yeah.
It's not the boys.
Okay.
So then I ended up saying, okay, you can go.
Okay.
But I kept an eye on everything.
Good. Good. Right thing to do. And you know, when you say no, you might also use not yet. And let me tell you when you can. Because then it's a soft no. It's like, you know, because remember, when they hear no, it's like no for the rest of your life. So then they have to go to battle. You know, say, hey, you know, not now, but when you get to this age, you can. And really, we do that already with driving. Can I drive? No, when you get 16, then you can. I mean, here's how you can. And here's when you can. So it's not an ultimate no, it's just a no for now. They can live with that a little bit better than no forever.
Do you use that same strategy when you're setting consequences though? Like, is it a no when you're getting a consequence, or is it a soft no?
The consequences should be, remember we talked about that last week, they should be timed. So it's like, you can't, we're going to pull back your curfew for 1 week, then you can get it back. So there's a consequence, but it's time limited, as opposed to, well, your curfew is now 8 o'clock. Well, if you do that, all they hear is that for the rest of your life, your curfew is 8, and you're going to get a huge, huge battle that you don't need. But if you told them but then you get out, or you get to have it back, there's time. And then you want to make the time frame reasonable. If it's too long, it's like, well, that's like never. All right, let's move on to the next one. Maybe one more.
Reasonable to us, reasonable to them.
Well, we're not using their reference as reasonable, but we are looking for our peers to help us figure out what's reasonable. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one is moving from submission to accountability. I mean, these kids are tired of being kids. They don't want to be parented. They don't want to, have all this submission stuff. They're going to rebel. And if you keep pushing the submission project, they will rebel. So what are we going to do in return? What are we going to do instead? Well, we're going to move towards accountability. So here's what a submission looks like. Submission says, when you go somewhere, you need to tell me where you're going, who you're going to be with. I need a number where I can call you, and you need to do that. You need to submit to that and do that. Okay? Accountability says that, and submission is usually one-way street. You submit to me. I don't submit to you. You submit to me. Accountability is more mutual. And again, if your children are becoming adults, they're going to become your peers. Okay? They're going to become your peers. You have friends in your life that are 10, 15 years younger than you, and they're your peers. Well, your kids are moving into that place. And with peers, with adults, you don't submit, but you have accountability. When I leave my office to go to a conference or some engagement, some lunch, what does my secretary ask me? Where are you going? Who are you going to be with? What's your number? It's the same stuff. So why am I telling her this? She's not my mother. What's up with that? And why would I tell her? And why do I tell her? Because it's accountability. I'm not threatened by it. There's no confusion about who's boss. But she's asking for accountability. Right? You guys have accountability to each other. Spouses. And so you are now growing up. So I've done this with my kids, and it's kind of an interesting watch their face. Listen, we're going to stop all this submission stuff. You don't need to submit to me anymore. Now we're going to do accountability. We're going to be accountable to each other. And they're thrilled about the submission, but not sure what the heck accountability is all about. And what I set it up by saying, and it's what your mom and I do with each other, it's what adults do with each other. And you're becoming an adult, so we're going to move away from the submission and move more towards accountability. Okay. And if I go somewhere, I tell you where I'm going to go, when I'm going to be back, and all this kind of stuff, because you should know. I mean, that's important. That's respectful. And when you go, we want the same thing. We just want mutual accountability. Now, what you're going to hear through these transitions, it's a lot of semantics. It's the same stuff with different words. But the words matter because the words are adult words. They're not kid words. And they want to be treated like an adult, not a child. And so the words matter, big time matter. And it's amazing. And when I was using this when my kids were going through this stage, I was just baffled. I was like, wow, I mean, I'm using different words, but with these words they're cooperating, with these words they're fighting. But it's pretty much the same thing. But that's what they want. Now, I'll tell you what, if my secretary was paternal with me and started acting like my mother, she's going to have a little problem with me. It's like, well, we need to talk about your tone, and we need to talk about how you're approaching this, because that's not flying for me. Okay, I understand you need to know these things, but how you come at me with that makes a big difference. The word you're using is huge. Your tone is huge. Your tone is huge. Your words are huge. I'm giving you new words to accomplish the same thing. So you want to move from submission to accountability, where you're finding out what's going on in a way that adults would do with each other. Now again, they're not complete adults, they're not on their own, they're not doing all that stuff. And so we're not just like turning a light switch, it's more like a dimmer switch, a little bit of that. So there'll be less director, a little more advisor, less director, a little more advisor, less submission, a little more accountability. But I want you to see where you're headed. I want you to see the language that you use to get there. So, some questions. Yes? Again, it varies, but when this class is really geared to kids who are 11, 12, 13, because you want to get on this early, right? The more you know this, the sooner you can apply it, the better this thing goes. It still works when you come in later, but it's a little bit more of a left turn on everybody. It's like, whoa, we've been going this way, now we're going this way. So you start, and it's a gradual thing. You don't want it to be a shock. So you just start implementing and using it over time. Yes?
Not necessarily a question, but the point that you made about tone. And I figured out with my kids that tone and body language can, if you're trying to communicate and your tone is wrong and your body language is wrong, it all goes south in a hurry.
Absolutely.
So it's something to really keep check on.
Your communication is huge in how you talk. And we communicate in 3 ways. What are the 3 ways we communicate in? You guys know? 3 ways. Verbal, body language, tone. So, all right, so we have the 3, right? Words, body language, and tone. Which has the greatest weight? Body language. Second? Third? You know what percent words have in the game? 7%. 7%. So check this out. As a speaker, I'm aware of what? Just my words. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say. I don't know. I don't pay attention to my tone. I don't pay attention to my body language. I'm just saying the words. As a listener, what do you listen to? All 3. All 3. Because you see everything. I can't see my body do what it does. And I'm not paying attention to my tone, but you get it all. And if I'm incongruent with my communication, what are you going to listen to? Yeah, I love you. I mean, I said the words you want to hear, it didn't have much impact, did it? Because my body language and my tone just was not lined up. And we as parents, as speakers, we are not aware of that. So good speakers are aware of all that stuff, and your kids will tap right into that. So good point. Another question? Let's go to another one. Moving from have to want to. Becoming friends with your teens. For most of your kids' life, they've been in a have to situation. I mean, they have to live with you. They have no power. What are they going to do? Where are they going to go? I mean, they have to. But I'm telling you what, when they leave home and they start paying their own way, guess what? They don't have to. And if have to was the glue of your relationship, what happens to the relationship? It's over. And you need to move from have to want to. Now, to go to want to, what do you have to be? You have to be wantable. And if you're screaming and yelling and rigid and being a director and all this stuff, that's not really wantable. And some of you have a hard time. The holiday seasons are coming, and you have this have-to feeling. You got to go visit your folks, because they still haven't pulled this off. My mom, she pulled this off big time. She'd be my friend if she wasn't my mom. My wife invites her to our vacations. I don't touch that. I don't ask can we bring my mom? I don't even touch that. And I haven't had to touch that because my wife played it well. My mom played it well. She's very wantable, and she's not parental at all. And so it's just like, she's safe. Who wants to go back to being a kid? Who wants to be back to being treated like a kid? I think I mentioned this earlier, is that when I would drive home to visit my parents, this was about 25 years ago or so, it was the weirdest experience, because I would drive home, and with every mile I got closer to their house, I lost a year in my life. So by the time I got there, I was 5 years old. Then my dad said, would you mind taking out the trash? And I'm fine, okay, I'll take out the trash. I was like, what's going on? This is crazy. So you want to move from a have-to situation with your kids to a want-to. Okay? So how do you do that? What are some ways? Have you noticed, some of you are doing this. You're starting to sense that. And that's a cool thing. Because that's when they confide in you. That's when they start to be, they let you know stuff. It's not just because you don't want to lose the relationship. It's important for them, so they have some. If there's someone they want to talk to and feel safe with, who best than you? You know them. You have the best interest of her. But what prevents that is, I'm still this parental child thing going on, and I have to, and I don't want to have to. So I have to go somewhere else to get my want to. And I'd really love to do it with you. Questions on this one?
What age do we start to transition to the wanting to versus the having?
It can start at 12 and 11, and it's areas where you let go of the parental stuff, and you might have them teach you how to work your iPhone, or it's where so can they teach you some things? Can they help you grow in some areas? Those are some areas where it starts to do that, because that's fun for them to go, wow, that was interesting. That was a different deal. What just happened here? I help my mom. It's like, I help my friends. Is my mom my friend? Wow, that's interesting. Right? And that's what you want to develop. There's a question in the back.
Well, I know for us on chores, instead of it being that you have to go take the trash out, I might say, hey, can you help me and come take this trash out? Or can you help me with this? Or something like that. The minute I talk, of course, it's kind of better. So at home, it's not so much a thing. I'm starting, I think, and of course it comes to my parents, because yes, in their 70s, they would say to you, here's what you have to do. You have to do this, you have to do that. But they mean, here's what I think you should do, because this was a great idea for me, and maybe it'll work for you. But I've learned to interpret that in my head.
Yes.
But so my whole programming is, here's what you have to do. Here's what you should do. Just listen to me, and if you follow my directions, you'll be fine. And I know that's not both my parents.
And you are adult enough, mature enough to make that translation and not be offended by that, and not feel like you have to go be your own person and prove them wrong and all that stuff. But your kids do.
So,
they are not going to be able to pull that off.
So, we're one out of the house, obviously, grandchild, one at university, one in high school, and one is our last time, because one's 12. On the 17-year-old, she really doesn't do almost never does anything wrong. I got one out of 4.
Wow, you're lucky.
Yeah, I don't know. I got it pretty rough on her. But I struggle with being, okay, here's the time for the day. Call me at this time. Let's do that. And I still kind of lay out the day, and I do worry with her that she might be too submissive.
Okay.
So how do I?
Well, and then with submissive, then they're going to say, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? And how about? And then that's where you turn and say, well, what do you think you should do? You're smart. I think you come up with something good, and let them struggle a little bit with not being told what they should do with those who are too submissive.
I'm worried about it more in the next step relationships, like with guy-girl relationships. I'm worried that she'd just be too pigeonholed.
Well, and that's where you want to begin to develop that trait with her now. I mean, I remember my daughter when there came a point where it's like, okay, I'm not going to buy you candy. Here's the money. You got to go buy your candy. I don't want to go in there. She was like 7 or 8. I'm not going in there. I said, well, then you don't want candy bad enough. But you have the opportunity to do that. I'll even come with you. But you have to, do the transaction. No, I don't want to do it. Okay. And there were 3 or 4 or 5 times where we drove away. And then came that 6th time. She'd see her muster up her courage, and she'd go in there and she pulled it off, and she was pretty excited. And that was the step of beginning to develop and not be so submissive and let somebody else, show her the way or do it for her. So you're looking for those things. Now you mentioned something very interesting about chores. The chores moves into this accountability area. Hey, we all live in this house. Things have to happen in this house to make this house work. We all chip in. That's called mutual accountability. Your dad does stuff, I do stuff, and everybody else does stuff. So you're just chipping in. And I have a whole strategy with a chores list where you make a list it's made of 5 columns. One is everything that has to happen every day, things that have to happen every week, things that have to happen every other week, every month, and every so often. So here's this list. And what I advise my clients to do is take a week or 2 to develop this list. So you have an exhaustive list. You're not talking about who's doing anything. Okay? You're just making this massive list of all the stuff that has to happen to make this house run. I mean, take the trash out, do the groceries, pay the bills, all the stuff. It doesn't matter who does it. There'll be many things that you will do because you're the only one that's going to do it. But it needs to be on the list because it's part of the house chores. And then we go around and say, okay, everybody choose what they would like to do. Okay? I mean, if you're going to do chores, why don't you do something you like? I mean, I like vacuuming. I like making those lines. And I'm awesome with windows. I mean, bring it. I know how to do windows really good. So those are my chores. I love that. There's chores I don't want to do. And so everybody gets to choose their first chores. And this is a mutual accountability thing. There's no parenting going on. It's just like, hey, we're all living together. This is what would happen if you were just roommates. And so then it goes around again and says, okay, now everybody's chosen what they like to do. Now choose one that you wouldn't mind doing. All right, so everybody, and what's happening, what becomes real obvious is you look down and you see initials by all these chores. And you start to see that, wow, Mom's doing a whole lot of stuff. That's what I've been trying to tell everybody. And Dad's doing a little bit more stuff. That's what I've been trying to tell everybody. And then the kids are hardly anywhere to be found. And they kind of go, I guess I should put my... And suddenly they're doing it out of accountability, not out of submission. Right? Because it just makes sense. And if it stays that way, then they're getting over on you, right? It's like, wow, yeah, they're my servants. This is awesome. Can they respect you? No. And you're going to have a lot of disrespect. So there's just another way of moving into accountability through this chores list. And it's a different way of getting to do the chores. The director says, do it because I said so. These are your chores. I've assigned them to you. Now do them. And if you do it, boy, there's going to be consequences. And I got a whole list of them. And well, that's worked. And that's okay. But it's no longer going to work. Because it's going to make them have to choose between autonomy or doing the right thing. And I'm telling you, they're going to go for autonomy. And you're going to have a battle. There's a different way to go after it, and that's through accountability. This is a lot easier said than done. Granted. But it's the right road to be on. You may go slow down that road, but it's a whole lot better going slow down the right road than fast down the wrong road. Yes?
Just this last week, my husband asked my son to do dishes, and he looked at me and he said, "But that's Mom's job." And my husband said, "Look at your mom, please, and tell her why it's her job." And he started making this list, and all of a sudden, as he's looking at me, that list of why it's my job doesn't seem quite right anymore. And you can see the wheel and the thought process changing in his mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're making him grow up to look at it, right? From an adult's perspective. Yeah.